Welcome back, everyone, to Ace Your RES Exam Key Topic Deep Dive Series. We know you're deep in study mode, so let's jump right in. Today, we're tackling a pretty unique beast in the Singapore property scene, the HDB Shophouse.
And specifically the ones that come with living quarters, the LQs.
Exactly. That LQ part is what makes them, let's say, interesting for the RES exam. They're kind of commercial, kind of residential. And that hybrid nature, it's a gold mine for exam questions, really tests if you get the nuances.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our goal here is simple. Cut through the complexity, ownership rules, the taxes, ABSD, GSD, property tax, and what you can actually do with these places. We want to give you the key points you absolutely need to know.
Yeah, and it's good to maybe just quickly set the scene. People hear Shophouse and might think of those beautiful, often conserved, private ones managed by URA, sometimes freehold, very high value, huge market last year. But that's not our focus. We're zooming in on the HDB version, built by HDB, always leasehold, and very often they have that living space attached or upstairs.
Yeah. The LQ. And that's the kicker. It changes everything policy-wise. Makes it tricky, like you said.
Tricky, yes, but you can see the appeal for investors, right? You get potential income from the shop downstairs.
Stable commercial rent.
And then the LQ upstairs, live in it yourself. Or rent it out for more income. It's that double potential.
Which explains why they still get traded.
Well,
You mentioned around 79 sales this year. That's pretty active for such a specific asset type.
definitely.
What's fascinating here is who can actually buy them? The basic rules are quite broad. I mean, you need to be 21, not bankrupt standard stuff. But beyond that, foreigners can buy them. PRs too. No restrictions there.
Really? No restrictions for foreigners on HDB shop houses with LQs?
Nope. And even companies, private limited companies, they're eligible. You're buying on the resale market, of course, since HDB stopped selling them individually way back in '99.
Okay, so that openness is interesting, which makes the big restriction even more, important to flag. Let's imagine a scenario. Say, Mr. Lim, Singapore citizen, he owns a nice HDB flat, maybe a 5-roomer. He's done his MOP, his minimum occupation period, so he's thinking investments. Can Mr. Lim buy an HDB shop house with living quarters and just keep his current HDB flat?
Ah, the million-dollar question for the RES exam. And the answer very clearly is no.
No, even if MOP is met.
Doesn't matter. MOP met, not met, subsidized flat, non-subsidized flat, irrelevant. The HDB rule is absolute.
Yeah.
You cannot own an HDB flat and an HDB shop with living quarters concurrently. Full stop.
Wow. So if Mr. Lim wants that shop house investment,
He has to sell the HDB flat first. He cannot hold both.
but why? If his MOP is done, technically he could buy private property, right?
Sure.
Why does HDB care about this specific commercial residential mix? It feels different from just buying, say, a purely commercial shop unit somewhere else.
It boils down to the HDB part and the living quarters part. Because that LQ is fundamentally HDB residential stock, even if attached to a shop, it falls under the umbrella of HDB's core housing policies. The policy aims to prevent people from owning multiple HDB-linked residential units, so the LQ component essentially taints the whole asset from HDB's perspective, bringing it under that one-unit rule.
You're either an HDB flat owner or an HDB shop house with LQ owner.
You got it. You can't be both. It forces a choice, which is a huge point to advise clients on, obviously. They might need to move into private housing if they really want that shop house investment.
Okay, a critical point indeed. So, assuming our buyer makes the choice, sells the flat, and proceeds. Let's talk money, specifically taxes. This is where the split personality really shows up, right? Here's where it gets really interesting.
Oh, yes. Valuation must be fun for these. You literally have to split the value. How much is the shop worth? How much are the living quarters worth? Because the taxes apply differently.
Right. Let's start with ABSD, additional buyer stamp duty. That's only for residential, correct?
Correct. So for an HDB shop house with LQ, you do pay ABSD, but, and this is the key, only on the value apportioned to the living quarters.
So not the full price.
Definitely not the full price. Only the residential LQ part attracts ABSD, the commercial shop part, completely exempt from ABSD.
Okay. And buyer's stamp duty, the regular BSD, does it follow the same split logic?
It does. You apply the residential BSD rates to the value of the LQ.
And the non-residential rates to the shop value?
Aerospace. Two separate calculations based on the apportioned values. Get that wrong, calculate on the total price with one rate, and, well, that's an easy mark lost on the exam.
Got it. Split taxes. What about GST, goods and services tax? Does that apply?
It can, yes. If the seller is GST registered, then GST is payable. But again, only on the commercial portion.
Only the shop.
Only the shop value. The residential LQ part is exempt from GST.
Okay.
And a quick point for the exam, especially if the buyer's a company, you might hear about setting up an SPV.
A special purpose vehicle, why would they do that?
It's mainly for the GST. Setting up a separate company, an SPV, just to hold this one asset can make it easier for the buying company to claim back the GST paid on that commercial portion.
Ah, okay. Sort of isolates the transaction for tax efficiency.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It facilitates that GST refund or remission. Could be a decent saving.
good tip. All right, last tax, property tax. We know commercial property is usually a flat 10% rate. What happens with the LQ here?
Right, the shop part gets the 10% flat rate. Simple enough. For the LQ, it depends on who lives there. If the owner actually occupies the LQ as their residence,
They get the lower owner-occupier rates.
yes, the progressive owner-occupier tax rates, which are significantly lower. But if the owner rents out the LQ, or just leaves it empty, then it's taxed at the non-owner-occupier residential rates.
Which are also progressive, but much higher.
Much higher tiers, yes. So living there doesn't just save rent, it's a significant tax saving too. Another key advisory point.
Okay, we've bought it, we've paid our split taxes. Now what can we actually do with it, especially that flexible LQ space? Let's talk usage.
First thing to hammer home, change of use. With any HDB commercial property, including these shop houses, you must apply to HDB for approval before changing the use. Even if the new use seems perfectly normal or is allowed in private properties,
Mandatory application, no exceptions.
no exceptions. You do it via the Go Business Licensing website. There's an application for changes, HDB commercial properties, form, and expect an admin fee, around $100 or $200 depending.
Okay, so assuming you apply, what kinds of uses does HDB generally allow in the LQ, considering it was originally residential?
They're quite flexible, actually, aiming to keep neighborhood centers vibrant. So things like clinics, offices, commercial schools, think tuition centers, childcare centers are common. Even certain types of shops or gyms and fitness centers can be approved for the LQ space.
That does offer a lot of versatility.
It does. It's a big part of their value.
Now, for the exam, equally important is what's not allowed. The definite no-nos, usually because they disturb the neighbors. What's on HDB's banned list for the LQ?
Yeah, they're strict about amenity issues. So things that cause noise, smells, traffic, definitely out. Think restaurants. That's a common mistake. You can't just put a restaurant in the LQ.
Right.
Also warehouses or any kind of industrial storage. Nightclubs, KTVs, obviously. Funeral parlors. And, very importantly, workers' dormitories.
Yeah.
Cannot convert the LQ into a dorm.
Cannot be a dorm. Got it. That's clear. Finally, let's nail down the rules if you rent out the LQ for residential use. Occupancy caps are always a hot topic.
They are. And yes, if you rent out the LQ residentially, you still need to submit an online application to HDB. Doesn't matter if you're the owner renting it out or a master tenant subletting. HDB needs to know.
And the caps. How many people can live there?
It depends on the original size.
Yeah.
For 2-room LQs or smaller, the cap is 4 persons. For 3-room LQs, it's 6 persons.
Okay.
Now, the tricky one is the larger units, 4-room and bigger LQs. There's a temporary measure in place. From Jan 22, 2024, running until scheduled 2026. The cap for these larger units is temporarily raised to 8 persons.
8. Okay, but temporary.
Very temporary. You absolutely must know the reversion date for the exam. From January 1st, 2027, that cap for 4-room and larger LQs goes back down to 6 persons.
8 now, back to 6 in 2027. Okay, crystal clear. Those dates are key. So what does this all mean? It means the HDB Shophouse with LQ is, well, it's complicated. A unique investment needing very specific knowledge. If you take away just 2 things today for your RES prep, make it these. 1, that LQ means you must sell any existing HDB flat. No way around it. Concurrent ownership is out. And 2, taxes are split. ABSD, BSD, GST, property tax, you pick it, residential part, commercial part. 2 separate calculations.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that concurrent ownership rule, it's huge. When you advise a client, maybe as a Singaporean couple with their first BTO flat, thinking about this sharp house, you have to make them understand the trade-off. Buying this means giving up their footing in the subsidized HDB world and committing fully to the private market, potentially for their own residence. It's not just an investment calculation. It's a major life choice forced by this hybrid properties rules.
That's a powerful point. Understanding that consequence is really key for giving sound advice.
Absolutely. It shows you understand the real-world impact, not just the textbook rule.
Fantastic insights. Master these specific HDB Shophouse with LQ rules, the ownership trap, the split taxes, the usage limits, and you'll definitely be better prepared for those tricky exam questions. We wish you all the very best of luck in your upcoming RES exam. You can definitely ace this.